Being here tonight, and I had to laugh a little. I took a little video during the last two, just the people who are ministering up here, Jesus Peace, and took some video, and then I had taken a picture of my husband's socks tonight. I don't know. You should see what he's wearing. Yeah. So I texted it to my boys, and I said, hey, this is what's happening. And then Dad's up next, and I texted him a picture with his socks, and I said, pray. But no, seriously, I'm excited for what the Lord continues to have tonight, and He's amazing, and you're going to find that out.
Thanks. This has been really awesome to be here tonight. Everything's been amazing. And we thank you, wholeheartedly thank you for having us. The food was awesome, worship was fantastic, and we love the rap. My goodness, we need to get some of that in our town. I don't even want to tell you where that is because it's just not a rapping town, but we need to make it work. I lost all credibility with my boys. One is about to go into the Army Rangers. The other one's like into this whole training regimen, and I'm wearing polka dotted socks in this place where you have like what we used to call disco lights, but whatever. It's great to be here, and thanks so much for inviting me. And for all of you that are tuned into what God's doing here tonight, there is true greatness in this room. Like true greatness. There's a difference between true greatness and counterfeit greatness. Pharisees, counterfeit greatness. Jesus, true greatness. Because when He showed up, He told them, don't tell what you're seeing. And it says it in the Bible that the more He told them not to tell, the more widely they proclaimed it. Why? Because there was true greatness there. Which is what's in this room, which is why I felt like heaven had its thumb on me this whole week and this whole month in preparation for coming here. Like we speak all over the world, many different places, but I had felt the weight of what was going to be here tonight before we even came, because I knew there was going to be true greatness here. And there is true greatness here. You're carrying it. And it's in the environment. It's in the atmosphere. This is amazing. Somebody should be excited about that. This is amazing. So I want you to try to get this with me, because it's a question that's a legit question. Why did Goliath say, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? Because I didn't grow up in church. I'm so thrilled to hear your story about how you grew up in church and grew up in an environment maybe like this. But I didn't grow up in church, and my parents actually told us not to go to church, and being obedient children, we kind of took them up on it and didn't go. And I didn't grow up with the stories of the Bible, but this one somehow snuck in. And maybe it was because it was a story of a confrontation, of a battle, of war, of warriors going at it, which is what I always wanted to be. I never thought about being a preacher, a speaker, whatever. I always wanted to be a warrior, like an elite warrior. That's what I grew up dreaming about. But somehow the story got in there, and I think it got in there because of that DNA, that desire, that passion to be a warrior. And growing up, I was told by everybody, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, stop thinking about it, you're too skinny, you don't look the part. I know, I don't. It's funny, I was in Singapore. It's funny, sometimes people tell me I look like people. Like, I don't know if you ever get that. But I was in this elevator going up to the place where I was speaking, and this lady, I want to say older lady, gets in the elevator with me, and in Asia you don't call them ma'am, you call them auntie or uncle. So I've been there so many times now, I know the drill. So I said, good morning, auntie. It was just me and her in the elevator. And she kind of scowled at me. She just kind of like went like this, and I thought, oh my goodness, maybe she's not an auntie. Maybe she's not at that age where you differentiate and call them auntie. You know how, like you walk up to somebody and say, how far along are you? And she's like, I'm not pregnant. Like, it's one of those. I thought maybe I did that. Maybe I violated the auntie code. And I'm just afraid. I'm like, did I do that? And she goes to me, are you Antonio Banderas? And I'm like, no. And she goes, good morning then. And ever since then, I've been wondering what her issue was with Antonio Banderas, where she wouldn't say good morning to me till I verified I wasn't him, whatever. But I grew up being told, you don't look the part, you can't do it, you're not tough enough, you're not strong enough. But I wanted it, like really wanted it. So, against all wisdom, I guess, we enlisted, and we went for it. We signed up for the Green Berets, like the Special Forces, this elite group of warriors that I had heard stories and legends about how they lived up in the mountains and how they did 15 days of being in the woods without anything but a compass and had to find their food and all this stuff. Which, by the way, I ended up doing, and I found out the music doesn't play in the background when you're doing it, which stinks. But we signed up, and we did all the stuff, you know, all the physical stuff to try to prove that we had in us what it took. And, yeah, I did great. Like, I don't know how. I still don't know how. I was like not the guy that was fast. I was not the guy that was strong, but somehow I did really great in that whole thing. I ended up, I don't know, first, second, somewhere in that, in all the push-ups, all the pull-ups, all the running. For reasons I can't explain, I did great, but I wasn't picked. Like, I watched the last bus leave with the guys that were going to be trained up in the mountains to be Green Berets, but I wasn't picked. And I grabbed this buddy of mine who also wasn't picked, who did great with me, and I said, come with me, we're going to do something crazy. And we did something crazy. We did something you don't do. If somebody hears from the military, you know this. Like, we broke the chain of command on our first day in the military. We broke the chain of command and went straight to the officers' quarters and banged on the door until this page opened the door and said to us, what the words I can't say are you doing here? You are gonna die. Like, we shaved heads, skinny dudes, first day in the military, went across the field that they told us never cross that field, banged on a door they told us never go near that building, and demanded, didn't ask, demanded to speak to the highest ranking Green Beret officer. He looked at us like, I'm looking at two dead guys, and went in. And out came this guy that to this day to me is the personification of a Green Beret. Like, when I think Green Beret, I think about this guy. He was like built like this and had these handlebar mustache, and he had this uniform with all these things on it and all these awards that he'd gotten from jumping out of planes from, you know, places nobody should jump out of planes from. And he came and stood in front of us and he said, what words I can't say are you doing here? And I said, we came to tell you that we should have been picked, but we weren't picked. We felt like we deserved to be trained, but you didn't choose us to train us. And he said, so what did you come to tell me? We came to tell you that tonight we're going to jump this wall. And we're going to go out and find where you train Green Berets, and we're going to wait outside till you let us in and you train us. That's what we came to tell you. And he said, if you do that, you're going to be arrested for leaving your post without permission. You're going to be court-martialed, and you will spend 7 to 14 years in prison. Now get out of my face and never come back here and break the chain of command. He starts to walk away from us. And from this place that I didn't even know existed, from this place that I had harnessed all these years, that desire, but didn't even realize what was in there, I yelled out these words, I don't think you understand. Oh. And he stopped, and he looked up like this, and he turned around and started walking towards me, and he came and stood this close to me, and he said, what? I said, I don't think you understand how badly we want this. We're going to jump this wall tonight. You're going to arrest us We're going to be court-martialed. We're going to go to jail for 7 to 14 years. But when 14 years is up, we're going to wait outside the Green Beret boot camp for you to train us. That's what we came to tell you. And he put his hand up like this, and I thought, that's it. One slap. I heard about these guys, you know, like one slap. It's going to be a quick one. Make it quick. General. He said, my whole career, I asked God, this is what he said, I asked God for 5 soldiers with that kind of heart that we can train. Today, I found 2. And he wrote a personal letter of commendation and sent me and my friend, to this day we remember it when we get together, to the Green Beret boot camp to be trained. And on the bottom of the letter, I didn't know this till the day I got done, because he came to congratulate me when I finished. He wrote, P.S., give them hell, they broke the chain of command. And we didn't know this because all we did was watch movies. But we didn't realize that we were entering into a process and a program that was designed to get rid of us and not keep us. It's kind of like this. It's really great when we can come together and do this. But most of the time, come on, let's be real, it's not like this, is it? Where we have the camaraderie and the friendship and the passion is there. And people are cheering us on when we're rapping, when we're worshiping, when we're speaking. We're duking it out with Goliaths. And it was really fascinating to me when, not very long ago, I read this scripture which says, it's 1 Samuel 17, it's in your Bible, where David, come on, you know the story. He had what?
Slingshot.
A slingshot and what? 5 smooth stones, right? But Goliath said, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? What sticks did Goliath see? What sticks did they not tell us about in Sunday school that I never went to? What sticks is he talking about? What sticks did David have in his hand? Well, the answer to that comes from what realm did David come from to fight? Was he coming from earth, or was he coming from a heavenly realm where he had learned to fight God's fight and to win against a lion and then a bear and then Goliath? Could it be that it came from the world where he was trained, not by flesh and blood? The world where he sang songs to God while he was tending sheep, but a world from which he entered into a heavenly realm, into the arena of heaven where God trained him with weapons of warfare that are not carnal but mighty through God, to the tearing down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Yeah. Could it be that he was, before we were, seated in heavenly places and trained in heavenly places? And could it be that when he said, your rod and your staff, they comfort me, he actually knew what he was talking about? He actually had held the rod of Aaron and the staff of Moses with miracle working power that released all of heaven whenever man moved with God? Could it be that when Goliath saw him coming at him with a slingshot that we learned about, he all of a sudden God opened his eyes and he saw, just like the man who, God opened his eyes and he saw chariots of fire all around them, remember? With Elisha? Maybe God opened Goliath's eyes, and in that moment when he was boasting and he was cursing David's God, God showed him, you are done. Because he's not coming at you with a slingshot. He's coming with the rod of authority and with the staff, the kingly, the priestly, before he was king or priest. Amen. What realm are you fighting from? What realm are you being trained in? That's why I love this. This is a heavenly realm. Come on. This is a heavenly realm. Because you engage it with your spirit, and your spirit man arises, engages what heaven has, the invisible realm, where all the glory and all the power and all the miracles lie. We entered a world to be trained that didn't want us there, man. Like from day one, they try to convince you you don't belong here. Not one word of encouragement for months. Not one well done. Not one you did good. Not one that was great. Can you imagine a world like that? That is designed and aiming to get rid of you. Because they want to make sure that nobody makes it. They don't want one person to make it. They don't want one person to be in their combat team and on their sniper team. They don't want anybody to make it. Why? Because they want whoever does make it to belong there. And I found out by doing all that that was not about that. But that was training for something else. And this is training for something else. Amen. It's all training for something greater. Not just here, but I believe even when we depart from this earth, there are assignments. Come on. Do you really think we're going to be on some cloud, sitting under some palm tree, being fanned by some obese angel sipping iced tea? Come on. Do you really think that's what it's going to be like? No. Forever and ever and ever and ever, we just do nothing? No. There's assignments. And heaven's looking to see who is going to qualify. Who is going to be given that kind of training here. To do stuff here. To do stuff there. From the realm we came from to the realm we're heading. Come on, this is an eternity we're talking about. This is just a window of life on this earth. But we came from heaven. We're going to heaven. Do you believe that tonight? Yes. And there is a weight on this tonight because some of you are being summoned by heaven to be trained into the ways of God, into the paths of God. That's why David, who was trained in that realm, said, show me your ways, O God. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and lead me, for you are the God of my salvation. On you I wait all the day. In another portion he said, blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. What was he talking about? Was he talking about just battle, flesh and blood, which he did a lot of? No. I believe he was. But not just that. It's bigger than that. His training as a warrior was to train him to be king. And your training in the warfare of this life is preparing you for that kingly role, that priestly role of being an intercessor on the earth, an administrator of the grace of God to your generation. And man, we just wanted it so bad we would not be denied that day. I made my mind up. I will go to jail. I will lose everything, even my life, but I will not be denied. How bad do you want it? Amen. Like seriously, how badly do you want it? How much do you want Him to move through you? How passionate are you about seeing person after person impacted by your life? I thought I was joining the Special Forces to be a Green Beret because that's what I always wanted as a kid. Then I remember after getting the Green Beret, trying to get into this one combat unit that was renowned, and I got into that unit. And then I remember going to the mess hall one day, which is where we ate. And I remember sitting down and I noticed these guys over there, they were by themselves. They weren't talking to each other. They were using signals at the table. Like one guy, I'll never forget it, he was like looking at his grapes. And then he looked at the other guy's peach and he goes, they were communicating like, I'll trade my grapes for your peach. And they were doing that stuff. And I'm like, who are those guys? And these other guys that were at my table said, don't talk about them. They're an entity of themselves. And I was fascinated. I'm like, what do you mean they're an entity? What is it? Like, that looks like really cool. And they're like, those are the snipers, man. They're not allowed to talk to each other for 6 weeks during their training. They need to learn to communicate without talking. Wow. And I was like, I want that. And I get it again. Like, are you Antonio Banderas? Like, are you serious? Like, are you going to be one of those guys? You can't be one of those guys. I'm like, dude, they told me I couldn't be this. I think I'm going to be like one of those guys. So I went into sniper school. And for reasons I can't explain, I did that. But that was just training for something else. Don't get stuck at this level. Like they offered me a position. They said, hey, you're really good at this. Why don't you stay here? I would have thought, you are out of your mind, man. I'm terrified to stand in front of people. You know that feeling? Come on, man. But there's greatness, true greatness. There's true greatness that somehow He deposits in us when we know Him. And when I encountered Him, it wasn't at an altar, it wasn't in a church. Some of you are going to come forward tonight. You're going to encounter Jesus. He's going to get a hold of your life. How do I know that? Because I felt the thumb of heaven on me this whole week about you. That's how I know it. But I didn't come to Him that way. I found Him in a dream. Like the God of heaven, the God of the Bible came to me. I wasn't looking for Him in a dream. After I got out of Special Forces, a few days later, I'm on a college campus going to school in New Jersey. Like the first thing I did on a college campus, this is the truth. A squirrel was just prancing around. And I had just come out of 15 days where we have to like find our own food. And I picked up a stone and pinched it at the squirrel, man. And it's a good thing that where I was, we didn't have squirrels because I didn't know how to gauge my throw. So I missed, because if I had hit that squirrel in New Jersey, you know New Jersey people. I'm joking. That's the first thing I did. Next morning, 5 a.m., I go for a run. Nobody else is running. I don't understand it. What's wrong with these people? Like I went from barracks to that. And then long after that, I went to take a nap after classes, and I got into this dream, and the God of the Bible came to me in the dream. Like I saw Him. It was Him. Not on earth, in a heavenly realm. And He says, you don't know me. And I got saved in a dream. Like I gave my heart to Him in a dream, because when I woke up, I knew Him. When I woke up, I knew that I had not known Him, and now I know Him. Who is this God I didn't know that I just met? And somebody came to me and said, Marios, there's this God that's been speaking to me about you. And I want to tell you about my God. I said, I think your God is my God. I think we're talking about the same God. He said, well, why don't you bring your God and come to my church? And this guy that this lady thought looked like Antonio Banderas, for reasons I don't understand, ended up in a church where nobody looked like me. Like nobody looked like me. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I never got this race card thing. I never understood that whole thing. I just loved people. And people loved me. And in the heart of Trenton, New Jersey, man, I went to church for 3 years. My spiritual father was my pastor. He mentored me, and he said, all of this is training for something else. It's all training, friend. He's preparing you. He's wooing you. He's pulling you to Him tonight. And in just a moment, we're going to lay hands on some people. We're going to pray for some people, and something is going to happen. Not because flesh and blood touches you, but because the God I met in that dream, who changed my life from that night, from that day, is going to touch yours. Is going to radically impact your life, because He's recruiting and He's pulling those into greatness that want greatness, that have greatness in them. Deep is calling to deep tonight. How bad do you want it? Are you going to walk away and say, you know, that was pretty good tonight, but I'll come back again? Or are you going to jump in and say, this is my night, this is my moment, this is destiny for me? Because it is. If I didn't believe things will never be the same for you after tonight, I wouldn't be here. Seriously, man, like my boys have an awesome fire going on right now. They have the spotlights in the backyard, and we throw knives at this target in the backyard. Like I would be with them. But I'm here because I believe in you. And I believe that God has a plan for you to take you to the next level. If you're willing not to be stuck in this one. If you're willing not to be stuck in this one. Whatever greatness is in this one, there's even a greater greatness where He's taking you.
Amen. Amen.
So I end with this. Not very long ago, my wife and I were in Cyprus together. And I said to her, I need to drive you to my barracks. I need to bring you to the place where I became a Green Beret. She had heard so much about this. She'd heard this story. She's like, I'd love to go. So I drove her. And it was about dusk. It was about to get dark. And we could pull up to the base. And I said to her, there's a spotlight that's going to go on right now. And the spotlight went on because I know at what point where the car is going to be coming up the road, they're going to put the spotlight on. So sure enough, this big spotlight, parked the car near the gate. I walked up to the gate. She's watching from the car. I talked to the guard at the gate for less than a minute. And the next thing you know, I'm running back to the car. I'm saying, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go buy some stuff for the kids. You stay in the car. And I go in. Later when I came out, she said, how on earth did you get into that base without ever showing ID? And I said to her, what I told that guy at the gate is like you tell somebody you know where they hide the key. Like I said to him, are you guys still going by this nickname in the company? Do you still do this? Do you still do that? And then they knew I was one of them. And they let me in. And they brought me up to this office and as well, we're walking up. I'm going to buy all this stuff. So I buy like stuff for my boys, like t-shirts, green berets, you know, snipers, all this stuff for my boys to wear that didn't earn it. Like we used to beat up kids like them before, but now it's different. I'm buying it for them to get beat up by other people. And I buy all this stuff. It was like $100 worth. And I have this bag with me. And they said, well, we think, and we have this conversation. And they're like, what year were you? And I told them. And they said, what was your post? And I tell them. And I said, were you a sniper? I tell them. And they said, are you that guy that got in by threatening to jump the wall? And I'm like, yeah. And at this time, guys, look at me. Like, I don't look the part anymore. Like, I didn't then either. Like, there's real green berets in the barracks. Like, I'm walking with this guy that's, like, really muscular and tough, like all the guys I served with. And I'm this guy that just flew in from the States, and his wife is waiting at the gate. Like, I'm not that guy anymore. But they're like, no, you need to come. We need to bring you to our commander. He needs to meet you. He's going to want to meet you. So I reluctantly just went with him, and then I came into this office, and this guy stood up, and he introduced himself, and I said, he brought me here. I didn't really want to come. He just brought me here, dragged me here. He says to him, this is that guy that was going to jump the wall to get into the Special Forces. And he says to me, are you that guy? He says, tell me the story. So I told him the story, but I didn't tell him like I told you because I'm speaking, I'm trying to get the point across. I just told him like, can I go now? Like I got done, can I leave now? And he says, and he calls an assembly of all the Special Forces guys that were in the barracks at that time. He calls them out. And now my wife's waiting in the car. She's like, when I went out, she's like, what took you so long? Oh, it's a long story. So I come out, and then the guy calls them all and tells them to stand in attention to honor me. Like, this is like a big honor in the Special Forces. Like, if you have military people here, you know what I'm talking about. When they call an attention for you. And these guys, like in the Green Berets, we don't just like do this for attention. We put our leg up like this, and you bring it down with force, and it just kicks. Like they tell us, kick up the dirt, kick up the dust. Like if there's a good, 10 hut, like you want to bring your leg up and forcefully bring it down to where everybody kicks up the dust to where you can't see them anymore. That's what they tell us to do, but nobody ever does that. It's just what they tell us to do. Be invisible from the dust you kick up by doing. So they did one of those, man. And he says to them, this is the guy. He's like, where's your heart? How bad do you want it? This is the guy. And he says, why did you come, guy? I said, I came to buy this stuff for my kids. Sorry. And he looks at the guy who ran the store, and he says to him, are you running the store tonight? And the guy's like, yeah. He goes, give him his money back. And dude, they gave me my money back. And I go back to the car with this bag full of stuff, and I'm showing my wife's like, what happened? What took you so long? I'm like, they gave me my money back. They gave me my money back. She goes, how did you get in without even showing an ID? That's what I want to know. It was awesome. But man, could it be that all of heaven wants to stand in attention tonight because of what you're going to do? Could it be that what you move towards tonight moves all of heaven? Come on, the Bible already says that when somebody gets saved, one person comes to Christ. All of heaven rejoices. Do you understand like how many people are there, and all the angels and all the elders and all the chancellors of heaven and the beings that are freaky with eyes everywhere that we say holy, holy, holy. People are like, we want to see the beings. Are you serious? You want to see the beings? Can you imagine all of them rejoicing because you made a move for God? Yeah. Well, I believe this night is for that. And this is your moment. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Heaven wants to train you. Heaven wants to equip us for something greater than anything we're walking in right now. This is training. And we're being evaluated. Why don't you stand with me? Just making it in the combat unit didn't cut it. I noticed those guys, man, and there was something about them. I believe the Lord, if I can put it this way, He's like calling special forces tonight. People that are going to go the distance. People that are going to get into some operations that totally intimidates hell. We pray, Lord, that you will dismantle strongholds. That you will break down walls. That you will strengthen hearts and build up lives. And that you will give and impart to every person here something that will be with them forever. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.